and welcome to today's video. Today we will be discussing and ranking Tarzan.
Yeah, Tarzan is actually been in cinema forever. In like the 30s, there were loads and loads of like Tarzan films.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, like any 30s films, they've aged pretty poorly, but there used to be hundreds of them. You look it up, and there are like, I think they're rivaling like James Bond for
Yeah,
films.
there's a lot that was in like the trivia that I was
Yeah, there's
looking at.
a lot of Tarzans, and this is Disney having their go with Tarzan.
Which Disney also did a Tarzan-like live action film. Which I don't know if this was before this one or after this one, which was George of the Jungle.
Oh yeah, yeah,
With
there are
Brendan
similarities.
Fraser. Like, that is basically Tarzan, except it's set in modern day.
And it's very comedy based,
Yeah.
whereas like I think Tarzan works serious. I mean, there is a lot of comedy in Tarzan, but it's not taking the mick out of Tarzan as a character. Whereas like in George of the Jungle, it's like mocking.
It's very much slapstick humour, isn't it?
Yeah, whereas like Disney in this version of Tarzan with this film, it's like actually Tarzan's portrayed as quite a strong, capable guy.
Mm-hmm.
His only flaws really is that he's not quite monkey enough, which his gorilla tribe take the mick out of him for doing. But yeah.
So what do you like to discuss first?
Well, let's keep talking about Tarzan as a character.
We can keep talking about Tarzan as a character.
There's been a lot of Tarzan films, not just in the past in the 30s, but since. Like,
yeah, the most recent one was with the Skarsgård man, wasn't it? I can't remember which Skarsgård it was.
there are quite a few. There's also like another animated one, which was like a few years before that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it lasted very memorable, which I think makes Disney's Tarzan probably the most memorable of all the Tarzan films. Sorry if there are any fans of the classic ones, but I think Disney right now hold the torch for best Tarzan film.
I mean, it's the only one that I've really seen, so I can't really compare, unfortunately. Apparently, half-naked men flying around in loincloths just don't do it for me.
I think what it does is it kind of gives us a very like stock origin story of the character Tarzan. How it starts off him as a baby. His parents get washed up on an island, are killed by a leopard.
Saber.
Yes, Saber. We'll get to Saber. And he's found by a gorilla that's just lost her own child. Tarzan starts off really dark. It literally, like, the first 5 minutes are some of the most brutal.
Yeah, like, so I remember watching Tarzan when I was younger. I remember watching it a couple of times, did a few rewatches. And I just remember not really being into it that much. Which I said before we sat down to rewatch it the other day. I was like, it's not my favourite. I just don't care. And then within like the first 5 minutes of the film, I was just absolutely bawling my eyes out because of how sad it was when the baby gorilla gets eaten by Saber and when Tarzan's parents get eaten by Saber as well.
Yeah. So, like, then the film basically is a young Tarzan growing up with gorilla parents.
Yep. Kerchak and what's the mum called?
It escapes me. Kerchak is not happy with the situation. Like pretty much every...
Carla. She's called Carla. Sorry.
Like any Disney animal thing, he is correctly scared of humans, which makes him a really interesting character, Kerchak, because he's really grumpy, but you know why.
Like, he's the most sensible gorilla, really, isn't he, when we think about it?
He's very stubborn, but he's probably stubborn for good reason, as Bambi has taught us and Fox and the Hound has taught us. Humans don't mix too well with animals in the wild. So, like, Kerchak, while he is kind of a grumpy bugger for, like, the whole film, you get it and you understand why, which is why Kerchak's one of my favourite father figures in a Disney film, I think.
He never refers to Tarzan as son, and Tarzan, I think, literally calls him dad. No, he does once at the end when he's dying. But Tarzan never calls him father or dad. He always refers to him as Kerchak, even though he refers to Carla as mother.
Yeah,
just because he doesn't accept him. Which will be brought up as a parallel in the next film that we are reviewing.
So it kind of goes through Tarzan trying to earn the gorilla's approval. It speeds through this. I think if I was to give Tarzan one flaw, it's probably too big a story for one film to tackle, especially animation, because he's like there as a kid that doesn't fit in, and within 10 minutes he's now an adult that
Yeah,
kind
he's now
of fits
like
in.
23 and
It zips through the movie,
yeah,
and
it does.
then it gets to the point where Tarzan's accepted, but then humans come to the island in the form of Minnie Driver's Jane,
Yes.
Brian Blessed's Clayton, and Nigel Hawthorne's Archimedes,
Archimedes.
who are explorers. You've got Archimedes and his daughter Jane are there
Yeah.
to study the monkeys. Clayton wants to put them in the zoo.
Is that what he wants? It never really makes that clear.
He
I assumed he just wanted to hunt.
no, because he puts them in cages at the end,
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
he?
Maybe
Yeah.
he is bringing them back for zoos then.
Yeah, it's like King Kong, isn't it? It's basically the plot to King
I've
Kong.
never seen King Kong.
Clayton's a little bit like Gaston without any of the charm. Can't pretty
Yeah,
much.
much worse Gaston.
It's like Gaston's dad. There we go.
The Gaston origin story.
There we go. There's a whole new Disney movie in there. That's the next Disney movie, the origin
They're
story of
kind of
Gaston.
set. Are they set along the same time? I don't think they are actually. I think Beauty and the Beast is a good 100 years before that. Because there is actually a time period in which it's set. Did you know this?
No?
So they view Halley's Comet
Yeah.
during the montage of them teaching Tarzan everything.
Yeah.
So the only possible time that that could have happened,
Mm.
in regards to the movie, is 1911.
Yeah.
And all their fashions and everything indicate that. But she mentions Queen Victoria,
Yeah.
which I'm pretty sure wasn't reigning by that point. So it's like they've used an actual event that happened in this year, but then they've set the whole film like good 10 years prior to that.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very odd. Let's just say that Clayton's one of Gaston's illegitimate children that grew up with daddy issues, and that is
Got
his
a big
origin story.
gun and
Yeah.
worked it out that way.
It works. Anyway, so then Tarzan gets to he's almost like the movie Jungle Book would have been if it was allowed to continue a little bit longer.
What, you mean if Mowgli didn't see a woman and skip off happily into the village?
Yeah, I always thought that of Tarzan growing up. I was like, it feels like Jungle Book, but if Mowgli was an adult. I think
Yeah.
there are comparisons.
Maybe.
Which is interesting because I remember lumping Jungle Book and Tarzan with the same brush, like they're very similar films, but actually they're very, very different. And that is quite interesting to go back and look at that.
So the sidekicks. Obviously, it's a film about animals. We have some animal sidekicks. So you have Turk and Tantor.
Turk is really interesting because actually there aren't that many female sidekicks in Disney.
It was the first female best friend. I cannot remember, without taking a moment, if it's still the only female best friend. I don't think it is.
Does Tinkerbell count?
The Disney animators have said that it's the first talking character that's the female best friend. So this wasn't always going to be the case.
Yeah.
So Turk was not written as a female.
Yeah.
And they auditioned loads of actors, and it wasn't until Rosie O'Donnell came into audition that they went, you know what, that's it. We found the voice actor for this. And there's absolutely no reason why his best friend can't be a girl.
Yeah, I think that's the correct way to do it. I mean, it's quite a genderless character, and it's like you just cast the best person for the job. And that's Rosie O'Donnell, hands down.
And she achieved her lifelong ambition of voicing a character in a Disney film.
Yeah, Tantar is also good fun as the very overcautious elephant. Tantar's a bit weird though because he starts the film with his tribe of elephants, and when we get to older Tarzan, there's just this elephant chilling with the gorillas.
Yeah.
I feel like the gorillas are getting really grumpy about Tarzan being there, and I'm like, there's an elephant. That elephant can't swing on vines.
Yeah,
if anything, he's destroying your home whenever he walks through.
Can do less than Tarzan can.
But I do like Tantar, so I'll make that a forgivable thing.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about Saber?
Yeah, right. So Tarzan is the first Disney I saw at the cinema. As I said with Hercules, we're catching up to where Disney started kind of being an active part of my life. Tarzan was one of the first animated films I saw at the cinema. Probably the first film I saw at the cinema, actually.
Oh wow. I didn't see this at the cinema.
And I remember Saber striking a massive chord with me. I love Saber to pieces. And growing up, I figured out why. All my problems with Disney are like there's always the villains that are done for comedy purposes, and like the alligators in The Rescuers. I keep on coming back to them, but they were really scary, and then they were slowly played for joke till they lost all their power. And then you have the likes of Joanna in the second Rescuers film. So I'm picking on Rescuers again.
I love Joanna though.
But I feel like if she was scarier, she could have done more, because the script kept on asking to be scary and it didn't really work.
Well, she was scary to the animals that were in the cages, but she wasn't scary to the humans.
Yeah.
Was the point.
Saber is how you do it, because Saber is
terrifying.
nothing but scary. She's fast, she's quick, she kills off, probably has the biggest kill count in that film. We've got the two parents, the young gorilla.
Probably countless more gorillas and animals that she's killed. Like, she pops up in a sequel.
Yeah.
And just, kills some more people.
Just has, a constant set of threat from the beginning of the film, which fuels the movie until Clayton gets there and can take over proper villain duties.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. So he doesn't appear until after Saber's been killed.
Yeah.
And his clothes that he wears are the same colours as Saber. To highlight that he's the new villain. Also, the first time you see him, his face is half in shadow and it's got a dappled effect to look like leopard spots.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's just that sense of threat, isn't it? But Saber for me is a very strong villain that isn't the main villain.
Yeah.
Love Saber to pieces.
Can I talk about the music?
Yep, go on.
So, I love the music in Tarzan. It's done by Phil Collins. I love Phil Collins. I love Genesis. It makes me cry. That is the whole reason that I just cried so many times in that film because of the music. It's kind of maybe the first Disney film, please somebody correct me if I'm wrong, where it has music but it's not a musical. So none of the characters sing the songs. It's all background music.
Yeah, it's very strange. I think it creates a thing. Gives it a Phil Collins stamp, and a lot of people think of Tarzan as the Phil Collins one.
Yeah, because he was actually brought in to do it. He did Brother Bear as well, and he was brought in to do it because they didn't want it to be show tuning.
Yeah, I think it works. It's nice.
It also went massive. So Tarzan was huge in the parks.
Yeah.
It was the Paul Pressler, Michael Eisner era where it was, let's attach a character to every new thing that we're opening.
Yeah.
So they opened the Tarzan Rock show in Animal Kingdom. For the opening of Animal Kingdom, which was the year before Tarzan was released, then Tarzan was a huge part of that opening.
Yeah.
Same in Paris. When I went to Paris the first time in 2005, there was a Tarzan show. And it was all to do the music. And it just went mental. It just completely blew up because of the soundtrack. It was the biggest one since The Lion King, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah. Fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact.
My fun fact is that, actually you can have two, Tarzan does a lot of swinging through vines and sliding down trees, and to create that movement, they studied pro skateboarder Tony Hawk and based Tarzan's movements on him. And also, Brian Blessed actually voices two characters kind of in the movie, because as well as voicing Clayton, he also provides the Tarzan yells, because of course he does, because it's Brian Blessed.
Now you know that, listen closely, and you can't unhear Brian Blessed.
Yeah,
it's
you can tell
it's so
Brian
there.
Blessed.
Ratings.
Yeah.
I like Tarzan, think it's strong, think it's a strong renaissance. Last renaissance, actually, and it definitely...
yeah, we're into the experimental era of Disney after this.
We'll talk about that in the next video. But it definitely gives Tarzan a stamp. I'm gonna... a 7. Not as good as Little Mermaid, but a little bit better than Beauty and the Beast for me.
Okay, I'm actually gonna give Tarzan a 9.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I went into it oh, I'm not gonna like this. Because I'll tell you why. I remember being absolutely terrified of this film, and it's because of Saber, and it's back to the whole Disney stores when I was a kid. they just constantly played the bit where Saber's hunting people. Like, the fight between Saber and Tarzan was just played on, like, the big screen.
Yeah.
And I remember walking down the stairs of one in London, and, like, Saber, like, jumped from screen to screen down the stairs.
That's the mark of a good film, though. If it scares you and it stays with you.
Yeah. But on a rewatch, I absolutely adore it. So a 9 from me, mainly for Phil Collins.
I feel like sometimes it's good going into a film and not think you're going to like it, and you end up liking it more because of that.
Yeah.
Right, let's end the video there because it's going to be our longest video yet.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Have a magical rest of your day.
Bye.
Take care.